everyone, and thanks for joining day 5 of the software testing bootcamp program. How has your week been?
Yeah, way. I'm just relaxing.
Well, how
Yeah,
has your day? Is that Adeshola? Yeah, I'm right. How's your week been?
it has been interesting
Wow.
and somehow challenging and promising because
All
I've got
right.
to acquire new knowledge and it's kind of exciting, but though challenging, but I know there's going to be a light at the end of the tunnel. That's
All
the
right.
summary. Yeah.
Indeed. You're going to count more monies, more cash at the end of the
Yeah.
tunnel.
Yeah. Thank you very much. And how was your day too?
It was fine. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right. Okay, so let me quickly give a recap of last week.
I don't even know that I was
Uh,
even talking. Hey.
wow. Okay. So last week, we were able to cover software development life cycle, different testing techniques, and thanks to our mentor, uh, Ridwan Abdulaziz, he was able to hold the session on Sunday. So this week, we have quite a number of things to cover. We only have 1 week to go. So I want us to just try and run at the speed of light to cover all these topics so we can get to have a real life session on testing a real life application. So this week, these are the things we are going to be covering. Software testing life cycle. We couldn't cover that last week, so I'll try to run through it before I proceed into other things. So test planning, then test deliverables or documentation, such as test cases, test scenario, test plan, traceability matrix, bug, defect reporting, and test summary reports. So this is all what we have to cover this week. You can see that we have quite a number of things to cover. So let's just get into it right now. So software test life cycle. So software test life cycle is just the process where you conduct your testing activities as a software tester. So in most organizations, we could see that there are so many times where QA are challenged. Maybe there's a particular time where a bug is leaked into production. So I can simply tell you for the fact that it's because the standard test and processes are not followed in that organization. That's why that could happen. That's why a bug could escape to production. And sometimes most of us experience pressure from the development or the business team. They want to go to production like yesterday. So they keep pressuring the QA to quickly test and push to production. So as a professional in the field of quality assurance and software testing, you must follow the lay down tests and standard test processes for testing an application. For instance, let's say you are joining a startup as a QA and you are the only QA available for the team. So the first thing for you to establish is a good testing standard and process for the team. So which boils down to having a good software test life cycle. You should have a set of processes that you follow. So let's just get into software test life cycle. So the first process is test planning. So before you kickstart your test, you should ensure you plan, just like you have a building project. You don't just jump into building the project, because if you try to do that, you end up not completing the project, or you run into some crisis or issues in the middle of the project. So that's why it's quite important for us to plan before we start testing an application. So the first one is test planning. I'll quickly run through it and then I'll go back to it. The first one is test planning. The second one is test case design and development. The third one
Sorry,
is
Mark, can you share your
test
screen?
environment. Oh, sorry. I didn't know that I was not sharing my screen. Thank you for notifying me. Okay. All right. So the first one is test planning. The second one is test case design and development. The third one is test environment setup. The fourth one is test execution. And the last one is test closure. So let's just get into details for each of the steps. The first one is test planning. So test plan, while you are creating a test plan and you are test planning, so you are creating a test document where you itemize, you describe the scope and approach for which your test activities is to be carried out. So the objective, like I said, is for you to define the scope, the strategy, and approach for which testing is to be done. So while you are test planning, you prepare a test strategy or you prepare a test plan. So test strategy is a document that has a wider scope. Let's say you have about 5 projects you are trying to execute in your organization. So test strategy is a wider document that specifies how testing will be carried out for each of the projects. For instance, let's say you have an e-commerce app, you have a banking application, you have...
I'm really exhausted.
Sorry, Adeshola, can you mute, please?
Sorry. Thank you.
So let's say you have e-commerce app, you have a banking app, you have what other app? You have a app to, let's say, for collection of collection, like account for collection of funds. So a test strategy document will specify how testing activities will be carried out on each of those products. So why test plan? Test plan is just restricted to a particular product that you are trying to carry out a test on. So while you are doing such things, you are trying to plan. You are planning for the test that you want to carry out. Another thing that is also involved while test planning is you identify the tools you want to use. Is it Spiral? Is it Jira that you want to use for defect reporting? Is it Excel that you want to use to create your test cases? Is it TestRail that you want to use to document your testing? So you plan the tools, also the environment. So testing environment today, we have staging environment, we have pre-prod. So it all depends on the context of the organization. So you determine the environment you want to use. Also the schedule. Before you kickstart testing an application, you have to plan, you have to estimate a time. Maybe it's for 5 days, or it's for 10 days, it's for 7 days. So I want you to keep in mind that most times you estimate a timeline, but it's possible that you complete testing of that application within the estimated timeline, or sometimes it might exceed the schedule. So that is also accepted in test planning. You're only planning. When you start your testing, you can meet surprises on the way. You can meet some blockers. You can meet maybe the defect turnaround time for defect fixes can exceed certain number of periods. So but for you, you would have planned that we are starting the project on social date, and we believe it should be completed within the number of within this number of days based on the resources we have at hand, the skill sets of the QAs that are on board on this project, then the risk experienced on the project. It's possible for you to plan to start the project, and in the middle of the project, let's say the developer resigns. So that's a big risk, and you have to factor that while planning your test. So another one is estimate effort and assign responsibilities. Let's say this application is an enterprise application. For instance, let's say it's let me use a banking application. Let's say it's a UBA application for transfer. Let's say it's for transfers, cross-border transaction. Um, Cross-border transaction between African countries. You can see that it is an enterprise project. So you can plan with about, let's say, 3 resources are going to be working on this app. We have about 3 countries: Ghana, Nigeria, and Liberia. So QAA, we handle Liberia; QAB, we handle Ghana; and QAC, we handle Nigeria. So your deliverables for test planning is a test plan document. During the course of our training, we'll try to review a PRD or an FRD and try to create a test plan. So another thing that is part of the deliverable is effort estimation. So for each of the resources that will be testing the application, the effort too can be specified in the test plan. So I would just like to run through all the slide. Then after, you can just ask your questions. So the next one is test case design and development. So the objective of the test case is for you to create a test artifact based on the requirements that has been handed over to you as a QA. So let me start by defining what a test case is. A test case is a document that specifies the conditions and scenarios for testing an application. So in a test case, we have things like test ID, the test scenario, the test step, the actual results, the expected results, and let's say things like the QA in charge of the module that is being tested, the developer in charge of the module, and also the platform where the application is being tested from. It's possible for you to develop an app. You can access the app on your mobile, like a mobile app. You can also access it on a web application. So test case is a document. At this stage, you are designing your test case. The first thing that you do in a standard corporate organization is you'll be handed over a requirement document or a user story. In an agile environment, we mostly refer to our requirements as user story. And in a waterfall environment, can someone remind me can you remind me organizations where they mostly use waterfall methodology? Can just and contribute. So which organization use waterfall mostly?
Hi, I think waterfall methodology is used for big projects. Banks, I think banks use the waterfall
Yeah,
methodology.
yeah, you're correct. Thanks for following. So, like I said, waterfall is mostly used by the banking industry because it's a fast-paced environment and they keep shipping out products. So they can't like start breaking tax into granulars. So most times we did we explained the methodology last week. So they go through all the series of level of software development life cycle. So it's when it gets to testing phase that the tester or the QA picks up the projects. So the activities that are done in test case design and development is you write test cases, you also impute test data. So what do I mean by test data? Let's say there's an application for you to register as a voter. So part of the test data that you need to access the application is, let's say, your data, your name, your address. You might also need your thumbprint. So those are test data. So when you have signed up into the application, some of the test data that you need is your valid login details, which is your username and your password. So those are the test data that you use to conduct your tests while testing the application. So another thing is you prepare test scripts. So this would have been factored in at the test plan phase. So you might also have considered the tools that you want to use. Let's say automation tool that you want to use. I know everyone is aware of the automation tool that we used in the testing industry. So for web automation, you could plan to use Cypress or Selenium. Then if it's a mobile application, you could plan to use Appium or WebIO. Then if it's you are just validating the API integration, so you can use Postman to do that. Then if you are trying to conduct performance testing, you could use K6 or JMeter. So that would have been stated while planning. It would have been stated in test planning. So you can see identify tools. You would have, at this phase, you would have identified that tool. So while you are creating your test cases, so you factor in the test script. Test scripts means test scripts mean it relates to code. So most of the time, people use it interchangeably. Like when you are writing test cases, you also say you are writing test scripts. It's actually accepted, but in the right way, test scripts relate to automation scripts. So test cases means all those test cases that involves you writing the scenario, the test steps, the actual result, and the expected result. So the major purpose of writing test cases is for anyone new in the organization to be able to pick up your test case and run through the application with no difficulty. So it's very essential that when you're writing test cases, it should be simple and easy to read. You shouldn't lump up different scenarios together. Let's say, for instance, you want to test a scenario for login. So you could write the test case like verify user can log in with valid username and password. That's a correct test case. You shouldn't write something like verify user is able to log in with valid password, comma, invalid password, incorrect, blank password, all in the same test case. That is ambiguous. So you have to break it down into simple test cases that is easy to read. A novice can simply jump on the application and use the application seamlessly. So Another thing is while you are writing test cases, you review the baseline, you review baseline test cases. So you review every test cases that you write. You must always note that before you start writing test cases, you have to consider what is specified in the functional requirement, product requirement, or business requirement, or the user story. The first thing is to take all those things that are specified there and you create it into, you break it down into tiny bits and create each scenarios for that. So after that, you can now start to apply your testing techniques like boundary value, like equivalent partition, edge case scenarios, and all that. So your deliverable for test case design and development is your test case, your test data, and your automated script. So the next one is test environment setup. So the objective of this test environment is to get the environment ready to run your test. So normally before you proceed on your test, your entry criteria would have been met. So test environment setup is part of the entry criteria before you commence your test. The environment you're trying to test must be stable. You don't want to give them time estimate for the test and you say everything is fine, whereas you have not checked through all the checklists for the entry criteria, because your time will start counting as at the time the product has been handed over to you to test. So you ensure that the test environment setup is stable. And once, if it's a situation where it was stable before you commence your test, but shortly, a few minutes or few hours into your test, you started experiencing a downtime, what you're expected to do as a QA is to notify the whole team. I believe in most organizations, some organizations, they use Teams as their means of communication. Some make use of email. So as a QA, whenever there is a network downtime, you are expected to quickly write a mail and send to all the stakeholders. I mean, the developers, let's say the head of development team, the business team, the business analyst, and let's say your QA lead or your test manager. You send a mail informing them that this application is currently down. So that doesn't count on your time, like you've already planned a time and they're expecting delivery. So it doesn't like, so that the blame doesn't sit on you that you did not deliver as at the time you planned and estimated for the completion of the testing activities. So the next one is test execution. So when you have written your test cases, the next thing is you start executing the test cases. So what do I mean by that? You've written all test cases like verify, user can log in, verify, user can log in with valid, invalid credentials, user can make transactions and all those things. So now it's now time for you to start testing and you start documenting the actual results. Why writing your test cases or why creating your test case development, you've already specified the expected results. So while you are executing, you are supposed to populate that column for actual results. So now that you have tested, so what happens? What was the actual result when you tested? Was expected results and was expected results equal to the actual results? So whenever there is variance between expected results and actual results, that gives rise to a defect, which you have to report on the defect management tool. So for test execution, you compare actual and expected results. Then you report defects in the defect tracking tool. So your deliverable for this phase is test execution reports and defects. So take note of all the steps because on your capstone project, you are going to be applying all this. So the next one is test closure. So after you have raised your defect on the defect tracking tool, and you have followed up with the development team for fixes, you have run your regression tests. So I know by now you should know what regression test is. You should know what retesting or confirmation test is. So they fix the issue, you conduct a confirmation or retesting, then you run regression tests for the whole application to ensure that this new fix or new feature has not introduced a new bug into the application. So once that is done and you have 100% coverage, the next thing that you should be planning is test closure. So is for you to formally complete your testing process. So you ensure that the exit criteria are met. So part of the entry criteria was what I mentioned, that you have 100% test coverage. There is no open issue. So for an issue or a defect, we'll still cover that tomorrow. A defect can be in an open state. It can be in a closed state. It can be in a reopened state. So, or it can also be in a closed state. So for you to evaluate exit criteria, it means that all defects has been closed. Let's say it's possible for you to only have, let's say, one or two low issue, which has been confirmed with the business that it's not a showstopper to deploying the application. So that is when you are due to close the test. Then another thing is you prepare your test summary report. Yes, you have conducted your test. So you're supposed to provide a test summary report, like a report of the summary of all your tests. You also, in this test summary report, you report the number of test cases that passed, the number of defects that were raised during your test. You also specify recommendation. Let me say there's something that didn't go well while you're testing. You want to specify in your test summary report so that whenever the application goes out there and the business team raises any issue, they can go back to your test summary report and verify that, yes, this QA has already stated that she couldn't test this because of environmental issue. She has recommended that this should be tested in another phase of the test before it is deployed to the customers. So your deliverable for this state is test closure report, metrics, and lesson learned about the product. So I have a definition of the test documentation here. So test plan, it describes the scope and approach for which testing is to be carried out. It is most times, okay, let me try to mention to you that test plan, most times, it is delegated to the QA or test lead for the project or for the product. So it is expected that the QA lead or the test lead is the one that is responsible for writing test plan. But let me say today it can be a lot of workload for the test manager or the QA manager. So for instance, in a banking application where we can have up to, like, let's say we can have 25 staff that are QAs, then it's possible to have 15 additional outsourced testers that are consultants. So if you try to analyze it, and we'll delegate that to the QA lead to start writing test plan for each of these products are assigned to each of the QAs. And most times they can assign a minimum of like 5 to 6 projects for each of the QAs. You can see this a lot of work for the QA lead. So most times it's actually delegated to the QA resource to create a test plan before starting the test. However, that is still achievable in a small or a startup company where they are only managing only one product or few products. So in that light, the QA lead will be able to create test plan for each of the product or the few product that is being managed by the organization. So test case is a document that contains set of steps, conditions that determines whether a software functions properly. The components of a test case is test case ID, test case description, test case prerequisites, test steps, test data, expected actual results, status, comment, platform, modules, and OS. So test scenario is a statement that specifies what areas is to be validated in the application. For instance, you could have valid login scenarios, you could have successful sign up. So for each of these scenarios that you have identified, you can now split out test cases to be executed for each of the scenarios. Then the last item I have here is bug, defect, and defect reporting. So bug or defect is a flaw in the component or a system that causes the application not to perform the expected function. So like I said, when actual results and expected results does not match, that gives rise to a defect. So some people call it bug, but the formal name for it is defect. So from now henceforth, I want you to be calling it defect. It's a defect. Bug is an informal term, but you call it defect, although they are used interchangeably. So whenever they say bug, you should always know that they are referring to defects. But as a QA professional, you refer to it as defect. So another one is traceability matrix. Very soon you start attending interviews and they might ask you what requirement traceability matrix is. So requirement traceability matrix is just a document that maps requirement to test cases and also maps test cases to requirements. So we have forward traceability and we have backward traceability. So for forward traceability, it ensures all requirements have corresponding test cases. Then backward traceability ensures all test cases are hello. Hello? Hello?
Yes. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Are
We
you?
can hear you. You were breaking before,
Sorry,
but
my
we can hear.
network was disconnected. All right. So can you point me to where you heard me last?
We're
You were
talking
talking
about
about
traceability.
Can you point?
the traceability matrix requirement.
Okay. Okay.
Forward and backward
So
traceability.
traceability. All right. Okay. So forward and backward traceability. So for forward, you trace the requirement to corresponding test cases, and for backward, you trace the test cases back to the requirement. So very soon I will show you a sample of a functional requirement document. So sometimes when they give you functional requirements, for each of these requirements, they have numbers. Let's say requirement 1. And the use case is for you to be able to access the landing page. I'm not sharing.
Yes, you're not sharing the document. And
Just a minute. I'll share now. Can you see it now? Confirm if you can see my screen.
No, we can't.
Yeah, let me stop sharing again. What about now?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So let's say the first requirement is landing page. Then the second requirement is login. The third requirement is email subscription. So while writing your test cases, you also document a column where you call requirement ID. So by the time you are writing your test, you can see test case 0, 1, and 0, 2. In your test case documents, they relate to requirement 1. So that means we are tracing requirements. We are tracing the test cases to requirements, which is backward traceability, and we are tracing the requirements to corresponding test cases, which is forward traceability. So when you hear traceability matrix, it's also called requirement traceability matrix. So it can be used interchangeably. So I would like to show you a sample of a test plan. So let me drop this link with you. Oh, it is okay. No worries. Let me go through the step. Let me go through the steps to develop a test plan before I go to the page, and I'll share with you. So steps of developing a test plan: you have to analyze the product, you define the scope, you list the test criteria, then you map the environment and create a schedule. A schedule means the estimated time for completion of your testing activities. Then you write down your test deliverables. So let me go to the document I have here. I think I need to stop. Okay. Okay, let me share this link with you guys. I will confirm if you can access it. I made the link shareable to anyone. You confirm if you can access that link. Confirm if you can access it. Can you access it?
Yes, I can access it.
Okay, can you open the second document? So this is a sample of a user story. So in an agile environment, you'll be given this as a user story. So let me open, this is user story sample. So I'll also show you an example of a product requirements document, functional requirement document, or business requirements document. So this is the product requirement document. You can also call it business requirement document. So this is a sample. I just wrote this to be used for practices. So when you are handed over a product requirements document, the first thing you go is to read about the background of the document. You can also read the objective. This is what you use at your capstone project. So you can start reviewing the document now. You can just start reviewing the document. You can see the items in scope. You go over, you review the purpose, the background, then you go over to in scope. You can see user authentication, login, logout, session handling, employee management, add, search, update, store details, leave management, and the likes. So you can see this is out of scope. Attendance, personal information, reporting, user roles, and general system usability. So when you're testing, if while testing, you see this module that is part of what the developer implemented, you have to flag that with the business team because that is supposed to be out of scope. So after reviewing the in-scope items and the out of scope items, you go in some documents, okay, yeah, it's here. You go over to the functional requirements document. So these are the things you'll be writing test cases about. System must log in with username and password. So that's a scenario. So while testing that, you create test cases for negative scenario. Say what happens if I log in with valid username, invalid username? What do I get a message prompting me to provide a valid username or password? When I log in with empty username and valid password, do I get prompted to write a valid username? So system must log in with username and password. That is a scenario. That's a test scenario. So I now break it into bits, into test cases, and check all negative scenarios, edge cases. What if I try to write a test case that covers trying to log in with a user that is not registered on the app? That's an edge case. Or I try to input, let's say, special characters, invalid characters, like in the test fields. So what happens? So you have to write test cases and test all those scenarios, test all those edges and see if there are no bugs hovering around those edges. So you also get to apply your testing techniques. Everything, your decision, your state, all those things, state transition, you apply all those techniques while testing. Then you can see we have user, this is a module, user authentication. This is another module. Employee management, this is another module, leave management. So these are so like dashboard, does it load within 3 seconds? For the ones that are testable, you can try to test. So while you're writing your test cases, you make sure you cover everything that is in this requirement and raise questions with the business team. If some things are not specified here, you are recommend that it should be updated because it was agreed within the team that this module should be in scope. So let's go over to the next. So what we'll be doing on this call is we'll be checking out this apply for a loan URL is an app. So the scenario here is to accept loan offer. So let me also show you. Yes, you have the user story now. What you need to do is to create a test plan. So I have a sample of a test plan here. Escape. So this is a sample of a test plan. So for test plan, it all depends on the organization. So most organizations, they have a template that they use. It's only in exceptional cases if it's a startup and there are no QA processes has not been established yet. You are the first QA in the team, or you are a member of the team and you're just building the team from the scratch. So you could take up the responsibility of creating a test plan for your organization. You could design one for your organization. So let's say so this is a template. Let's say this is a template for this organization, or they have no existing template. I just came up with this for the organization to use. So the first item in the test plan is introduction. So you write the purpose of this document. This document is a test plan for the loan application. It defines the scope, objectives, approach for testing the loan application and acceptance processes before release into production environment. So you write an overview. So the your app allows registered users to apply for loan. You can see that what we are writing is related, is in scope of what this scenario is for this user story that was provided. So all our test plan is based on the user story that was provided for us to work with. So let's go ahead. So you also specify the software risk and issues. Okay, all right. This is it. I missed this. Test environment. So system testing will be on the staging environment, QA environment available at, you specify the test URL that was provided by the development team. So let's say this is HTTPS. This is just the generic. It doesn't exist. So you specify. Then there's another aspect where we have software risk and issue. So what are the issues that you might encounter while conducting your test? The first one is unstable test environment. Another one is eligibility, logic inconsistencies. Let's say due to KYC. Let's say the KYC is know your customer. So if the know your customer of the loan applicant has not been approved, you know this person is not eligible for a loan, because we don't want to give out loans to strangers and we have difficulty in redeeming all the loan that was given out to the person. So these are some of the risks and issues that might be encountered. Then performance risk, when multiple users apply at the same time. So this is the point where performance testing is very important. So if you let's say you are doing a giveaway, like in your organization, like say if you apply for let's say you apply for 10,000, we will give you maybe a 10% increment in your loan offers. So you know, so many people will be interested in this, and that will pose a risk on the application. If let's say the system cannot handle 100 users in 10 minutes and 1,000 users try to apply for loans simultaneously, to really crash the application and the whole application might be down. So it's very important for that point is very important for performance testing. That's why performance testing needs to be factored out while you are planning as well. Then another one is incorrect loan disbursement or calculation. Yes, while you are testing, you should take note of the loan interest that is applied and all the fees that is applied. When a customer applies for loan, is the system calculating the right interest? If the person has selected that they are repaying the loan in 6 weeks, so when customer is trying to repay, it shouldn't toggle to 3 months. 3 weeks should not toggle to 3 months. So if that occurs, that's a defect and needs to be reported. Another thing is dependency on third-party application. If while applying for loan, let's say the application has other third-party dependency, whenever one part of the app integration is down, it will definitely affect user experience. So another item is item to be tested. So the items to be tested, you have to specify it: loan application, loan offer, tenure, loan disbursements, and the likes. Then there's features to be tested. So each of these features, you try to break it down and write a simple disbursement. Then you also specify the features you are not testing: attendance management, reporting dashboard. It might be in the plan of development, but right now it's not supposed to be tested. So in this sprint, like I said, sprint mostly runs for 2 weeks. So in this sprint 1, our focus is to test loan application, loan offer, tenures. So sorry, our goal is to test loan application, eligibility, loan offer generation, loan acceptance, and loan disbursement. So attendance management, reporting dashboards, and admin loan approval is not specified for sprint 1. It has been moved to a second phase, which we completed in sprint 2. So while you are testing, you should ensure that attendance management and reporting dashboard or admin is not part of the deliverable that the developer hands over to you as a QA. Then also approach. In a test plan, you determine the test approach. Is it system testing, regression testing, how you want to carry out your testing? Whenever there is any defect, what tool are you going to use? Are you using Jira or Excel? This testing, what cycles do you plan to run it? Are you planning to run it first cycle and second cycle? Then after that, you can carry out your retest and your regression. So in this current test plan, you can see that cycle 1, what this plan is for cycle 1, I will run through the app and log any defects. So for the cycle 2, I will retest and run a regression. Then item 7 is items pass and fail criteria. So what criteria will be adopted for a test case to pass? It means when actual results and expected matches, then we can say the test case has passed. So when there is a deviation between actual and expected results, if there is variance between two, so we can say this module, this feature has failed. Then we tag it as failed. Then the entry criteria. So I've mentioned this over and over again. Entry criteria, signed off requirements, stable environment, test data is available. Then exit criteria, all planned tests executed, there's no critical or high defect. There is less than 3 medium or 5 low defects. Then test summary has been approved. Then also the suspension criteria is when you determine that you suspend your testing. So when UAT environment is down, you cannot go forward. So you have to suspend testing and notify all the team. Let's say loan offer generation is blocked. That module is blocked. You cannot proceed with your testing, and there are no workaround that you can maneuver for you to continue your test. So that alone is enough for you to suspend your test. So your resumption criteria is when environment is resolved, all defects are fixed, and you have a new build that has been deployed. You can resume your testing. Then your test deliverables should be test plan, test cases, test execution log, defects log, and test summary reports. Then staffing, training, you have a test analyst. You determine the number of test analysts that will be executing test cases. Then you have a developer. And probabilities test and it differs in different organizations. So it depends on the organization you are working with. Most times they have a template. So as a QA, if it's a well-established organization, as long as they are not starting from the scratch, so all they do is to provide you with a template and you just plug in your template. So for every product that you get to work on, you just keep updating the test plan because you use the same template. Another one is schedule. Yes, you plan for a baseline start and a baseline end date. The duration that's estimated for this test is 5 days. Then risk and contingencies, unstable environment is a high impact. Then dependency on APIs is also an high impact. So if an API is down, definitely the customer we have, or the customer or the end user we have a bad user experience. So that needs to be fixed. Then defects, fixes, delays is medium impact. So it all depends on how you want to classify this in your organization. For some organization, defects, fixed delays might be high impact. So it is expected for you to determine the defect turnaround time. Let's say the defect is high. So we could give the developer for let's say we can use a day or we can use hours. Let's say 24 hours. Let's say it's a medium defect. We can apportion let's say 3 hours. Then if it's a low defect, let's say it's just typographical error, there's a spelling in the name of a module, we could just put that as a 10 minutes because it's a very low defect. So then the last part is so before you proceed to your test approved by your test manager. So in a bit, this is just all about test planning. So I don't know if you have at this point. Do you have any question about test plan?
Yes. Sorry, can I ask a question?
Okay. All right, go ahead.
Who developed this test plan? Is it me?
I did.
No, I mean, if I'm given the job,
Okay.
am I the one that will develop this or I'm handed this so that I will work on it? I work from it.
Okay, so all right. So like I said, a system test plan is supposed to be developed by a test manager, a QA lead, or a test lead. But it all depends on the organization. I cited an example earlier that in most banking sector, they manage a lot of products, they manage a lot of projects, they manage a lot of resources. And most times they only have one test manager. So it has been agreed in such organizations that each QA resource creates a test plan for each of the products they are testing. They have to create test plan. But if it's a startup, if the organization is a startup or a small environment, if they manage only few software applications, it's still possible for the test manager or the team lead to manage such workload. So as a QA, whenever you should be able to fit into the situation where you are called upon to write a test plan for a product or a project you are about to conduct test on. And in organizations where you have a team lead, you should also be able to allow the team lead to do his or her job by creating a test plan. So I hope I've been able to answer your question.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
All right. So who else has any other question?
Good morning.
Uh,
Please, I have a
okay, go ahead.
please, in the
Can you go
software
ahead?
development life cycle, whose job is it to come up with the edge cases? Is it the testers or the product managers?
Okay, the responsibility lies on the QA to come up with edge cases.
Oh, okay,
Yes, they
thank
might have covered some part of the requirements, but it is part of your job to test edge cases to uncover defects on all the edge cases and recommend a better approach to how errors are handled on the application.
thank
All
you very much.
right, you're welcome. So that is a test case, and that is a. Does anybody have any other question? I want to quickly go through test execution, like test cases. Okay, go ahead.
Concerning this now, maybe you join the team and there is no QA engineer, and you have to be the one to write the test plan and also test cases and everything. Where does the QA take in and let's say come in when they are doing spread planning and all this? How can one start a QA starts his own work doing planning?
Okay,
I
so yes, I can hear you. So as a QA, you start test planning once you have the functional or the product requirements document. So let's say you are the only QA there. So there's a development team there. So there's also a so they hand over the user story or the requirement documents and they hand it over to you. So as a QA, you have to review this requirement document and see the complexity of the project or the product So next thing you have to do is you have to give them an estimated timeline. Yes, I'll be able to complete my test within 5 days, within 3 days. So part of that, while planning, you factor that into your test planning and create a document. And you can let them see the document. You can let the development team see the document that these are the modules. These modules will cover 1 day. This will cover like 6 hours, 3 hours, 2 hours, like and the likes. So in a situation where you are the only QA, so you prepare your test plan. Once you have a signed off requirements document, you can start planning. It's just you planning like I will use this number of days to complete my test so that they don't come at your face and start rushing you to go to production when you have not completed your quality testing.
All right, sorry. So my other question is, can a test plan cover for all the whole testing? So like there will be a security testing, performance testing, regression testing, and the rest. Can you use one test plan for it? And
Yes, you can use one test plan for it, but just keep it at the back of your mind that what you are planning for is how you want to carry out your test. If you are not versatile in security testing, you are not expected to plan that in your test planning, because the business or the team will come for you. Like you said, you will be testing security. So in most organizations, security testing is handled by an information security team. In most corporate standardized organization, is the information security team that handles security testing. So except for some organizations where they employ people, they employ QAs that are into security testing. So that's in your test plan, you could also indicate that this resource will be conducting the security testing, but it is expected for the security resource to provide its own test plan as well, because it's the one conducting security testing.
all right, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yes, I have a question, please.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. For the testing, so once we have our requirements, both the functional and non-functional requirements, and we've been able to study and digest it, so then we can now go ahead to review the user stories that is being formed by the business analyst, right, or the project manager.
Yeah.
And thereafter, we can know how to design our test plan properly, to know what the project is about, how the scope of the project, in scope, out scope, and the resources needed, and all those ones.
Yes, perfect. So you extract all those information from the requirements document.
What if in a situation that we don't have requirements, how do we proceed? There is no documentation of, let's say, the user stories. Is it the work of the tester to work on the user stories, to create the issues?
Okay, so I would like to tell you that it's not the work of the QA to create user story. So let me cite an example. So in my past years of experience, I was working in consulting firms. So there are times when we have a project to work on in our consulting firm where they have no documentation. So what we do is they give us the URL, the test URL. So we explore the app and we create test cases. We create test cases to conduct our tests. We don't create user story or requirements. But in a standard organization, before you conduct any test, there should be a requirements document or user story that you work with, so that you can validate what was implemented with the documents that was provided. Because if that is not available, that's when we have changing requirements. You have tested, they have shipped to production, and they come back and tell you that you didn't test one part is missing. Whereas nothing was provided for you as a test basis. So you have nothing to like to contend with, like you didn't provide this, you need to provide this. So to have a standard process for your testing before you handle any testing activity in your organization. Make sure you have a process so everyone knows that this is the process that will follow.
Okay, so in that case, you didn't go through the user
At
story.
every stage, they know the right answer.
Okay, so in that case, you didn't go through the user stories. You worked
Okay,
on
okay. Are you talking about my?
the former project?
Yes,
So
yes.
so you didn't. There was no user story, so you only use the requirements to generate the test cases, to design the test cases.
Yeah, I said okay. What I was saying is, okay, in the consulting firm that I worked with, there was no requirements for
Okay.
the external organization. So
Okay.
we were being recruited on the project as an external tester. So they provided a test URL for us. So we wrote our test cases. We tested based on that.
Okay.
Exploratory form of test the application, but we did not write for them. Let's say it's our organization and we have a development team and a testing team. That can happen because we have a standard process that we follow. But this one that I worked in was an external project or an external contract, because my organization, then we do consulting and we also have the application that we manage. So in that situation, you don't want to let go of a contract that is awarded your organization. So you flow along and do your test. But in your own organization, you must enforce the right quality standard and processes.
Okay. There's this thing called data migration inside the test plan that has to be explained.
Data migration. Or are you referring to?
Yes.
Is it test data you are referring to?
Yeah,
or
test
data migration? Data
Yeah,
migration means something else.
Yeah, test data migration.
You mean data migration?
Test data migration.
Okay, test data migration. Oh no, test data migration is different thing. What I mentioned was test data migration means something else. Okay, so I'll try to differentiate. So test data means what you use to carry out your test, what you like the inputs that you use while testing your scenarios. Let's say for you to log into an app, the test data that you need is username and password. For you to upload your picture in let's say while registering for an application, while registering on an application, you need to provide your valid photo. So test data at that point is your photo. So for migration, test data migration, I think I've worked in, let's say, data migration for a bank. They are migrating test data. It's a bank. So they are migrating the test data for their customers from one environment to another. So there is a part of testing that is related to data analysis. So they call it ETL testing. Let's say data warehouse migration. So they have to migrate. Let's say they want to do an upgrade of their core banking application. So they have to migrate. They have to carefully migrate all the data of their customer. You know, this thing involves money and all the like. So they have to migrate it to another environment. So they need a QA or a tester to test and confirm that from the source data where they are migrating and the target they are taking it to, are there alignments? Are there nothing missing? So at that point, QA can come in. They need to ascertain that everything is all fine, because if they are not fine, this is a high risk impact on the organization. Most of the customer, they will lose trust in the organization. Yeah. That's just that about that. I think this might be where we'll stop today, because I need to be on my way at the moment. I should have been out by 1:15. So let's just continue tomorrow. You have access to what I shared. So in readiness for tomorrow, we'll be looking at test execution tomorrow.
Okay.
So I have a sample of tests. Let me give you an assignment. So this is an example of a test case sample I have. So you can just download and review it. So you can see test case ID. This is a template that you use to write your test case. So just download it and try to write. So for this your app, I think it's for your app. Let me see. Okay, let's do this. So for this HRM app, I have FRD. I want you to use PRD. Use the PRD. So what I want you to write is write test cases. Write test cases for, let me give you one. Write test case for user authentication. Then you also write a test plan. You write a test plan for this Orange HRM. You write test plan for everything. You write test plan for this PRD. Then you write a test case for only this module, user authentication. I want to see your edge cases, your positive, your negative test scenario. So you have a template. Use this as a template, and feel free, if you have any sample you want to use, feel free to use that sample and write test case for user authentication module. The second assignment is for you to write a test plan for Orange HRM PRD. So we'll meet tomorrow by 5 p.m. So try and just get your hand dirty on this.
How do we get these
I shared the link.
Okay.
Maybe I should reshare. I shared the link earlier. I'll share it on the WhatsApp group.
I think guys get the facts. Hello.
Hello.
I think that the facts very well. You should write test plan for the whole Orange HRM.
Yes. You write test plan
We
for
have
it for the whole Orange HRM PRD document.
And test cases for the
Sorry, your voice is breaking.
We also say we should write test case for only user authentication.
Yes. Let me drop it in. Okay. Assignment. Right. Sorry. Right. Test case for user authentication module using Orange HRM PRD. Then second thing is you write for the Orange HRM PRD. Hope you got what I wrote. If you have any questions, on it. And for so just drop. Somebody else asked question, right? Just a minute, let me just stop the recording. Let me stop the recording. Okay.